people die. People will die without emergency alerts.
That was the general manager of PBS New Mexico talking about the impact to our own state if the U.S. Senate passes President Trump's latest bill. And in the wake of recent deadly flooding and the wildfires still burning in New Mexico, some believe the timing is highly unfortunate, to say the least. If passed, the bill would in part cut funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which in turn funds PBS.
And for people in rural areas, PBS is where they get their emergency alerts. So we have Morgan Stevens looking into this for us tonight. Morgan, we look at recent disasters like what we have in Ruidoso, and every second counts.
That's right, Tessa. I learned today that defunding PBS goes beyond just Sesame Street. In fact, those rural areas that you were just talking about, those have they may have even a single tower alone to receive those life-saving alerts. From wildfires to historic flooding, New Mexico has seen a wave of devastating natural disasters. And when they hit, timely alerts can be the difference between life and death. Those alerts are now at risk with the GOP-led rescission legislation moving through the Senate. The bill would cut $9 billion in federal funding that, in part, goes to public broadcasting. This involves the bandwidth for emergency alert systems New Mexicans rely on for natural disasters, like those we saw in Ruidoso and the Trout and Laguna fires.
We're one of those multiple pathways that really carries a signal from FEMA to the home. And there are a lot of stops in between, and we're a big part of, getting it from Washington to New Mexico and in New Mexico to the homes.
Franz Joachim, general manager of New Mexico PBS, says rural areas where there aren't a lot of transmitters could go dark altogether.
There are small stations that are going to be significantly at risk immediately on whether or not they even survive. And most of those small stations are covering rural areas that are covered poorly or by nobody else. So immediately you can see situations in Zuni and Peñasco.
Supporters argue these cuts must pass to decrease the federal deficit, but critics say the cost of silence could be far higher.
Rural communities to find out what's happening with the weather. What about the natural disasters? When cell coverage goes down, this is a way for people to know, what do I need to do? Do I need to evacuate? What are the first responders telling us to do?
Senator Kane, motion to recommit regarding faith-based organizations. Number 2, Senator
PM in Washington, D.C. As you can see, the Senate is still in session. We will continue to track this as things change, and they are changing pretty rapidly. And we'll let you know what lawmakers decide. Back to you.
Hey, Morgan, thank you so much for the update. Related to that story, dozens of Native American radio stations could also lose funding under this proposal. Advocates like Native Public Media say many of those nations broadcast in their indigenous languages. So on top of losing critical information, it would make it much harder for tribes to share their culture over the airwaves.